Hey, welcome to Zach's Tech Turf. Today, I have something very special for you guys, and that's Nvidia's newest super budget graphics card, the GT 1030. I know a ton of you have already seen my Should You Game with a $50 graphics card video, and that was with the Nvidia GT 730. So today, we're gonna answer that question, but with a $70 graphics card. So, let's get into it. Before getting into the benchmarks, we will get to them soon, I promise. You might be wondering what exactly the GT 1030 is and who should buy it. In a nutshell, it's Nvidia's super low-end upgrade to the now several generations old GT 730. The X series cards aren't made every year and they aren't actually intended for gaming. The GT 1030 is what Nvidia claims as a good budget-friendly option to upgrading your CPU's integrated graphics. The GT 1030 is mainly meant for things like home theater PCs or multi-monitor productivity machines. However, on the flip side, with 2GB of VRAM and a boost clock of 1468 MHz, one might argue that this is an esport gaming graphics card. The exact card I'm testing today is the MSI version, which actually has a slightly higher boost clock of 1518 MHz and a base clock of 1265 MHz. It requires no external power connector from your power supply and only needs about 30 watts to run. Now, Nvidia does claim that this graphics card needs a 300 watt power supply to run, but I'm pretty sure that's just being extra safe. I would bet that this card works in any of those budget OEM desktops. Just make sure that the power supply in it is from a reputable brand. Moving on, a ton of different GT 1030 designs have this low profile design, which would be perfect for those tiny ITX PC builds or even upgrading those super slim workstation PCs. My specific MSI GT 1030 came included with both the normal and short size brackets and has one HDMI 2.0B and one DisplayPort 1.4 port. Now, before you guys ask me which GT 1030 you should go with, I would personally look at what ports it has and how much it costs. The specific MSI GT 1030 that I picked doesn't waste time with those DVI ports, and it only costs 70 bucks, which is why I picked it. Alright, so with all that out of the way, it's time to do some benchmarking. But first, let's take a look at the testing rig for today. It's my personal computer, which is rocking an i7 4790K without an overclock, 16GB of DDR3 RAM, and they are installed on an MSI Gaming 5 motherboard. Now, like I explained in all my budget benchmarking videos, like the Player Unknown Battlegrounds one, this testing rig is complete overkill, but I did it for a reason. This eliminates all potential bottlenecks and it allows us to see the best case scenario for this card. Now, for the benchmarks, I decided to start with some games that this card is kind of designed for, like esports titles, and then I get into higher demanding games just to see if they could even run them. First up, I tested none other than CSGO because almost every PC gamer is or has played this game at one point. The GT 1030, as you can see here, absolutely crushed the benchmark, averaging 198 FPS in 1080p on high, and this is what it looks like. You could easily pump this game up to higher resolutions if you wanted to, but I know a ton of you play this game with high refresh rate monitors, so I wanted to make sure we stayed above 144 FPS for this one. After CSGO, I went with another classic PC gaming monster, Dota 2. Please ignore the gameplay as I have absolutely no idea what I was doing here, but here we can see that the GT 1030 dominates the benchmark yet again. Here I averaged 68 FPS in 1080p and everything set to the max setting. I don't benchmark this game often, so I didn't even know what to select here, but turning everything on and to high seemed like the right thing to do. Next up, I kept in the esport theme and went with one of my personal favorites, Overwatch. Here I averaged an impressive 72 FPS in 1080p with high settings, and this test actually surprised me a bit. High settings for a super explosive shooter like Overwatch is pretty amazing actually, and this just goes to show how far technology has come with these super budget graphics cards. You can see here that I had no problem landing all these Widowmaker kills like a complete boss. Now, after testing these easy esport titles, like I said, I wanted to test the GT 1030 with some games it's not really designed for, like Doom 2016. Doom was a really hard one to test because it's definitely a graphics card intensive game and the map can really change the results of your FPS. I averaged out results from a bunch of different tests and averaged them together for a 34 FPS average. There were some maps where I was running about 25 FPS the whole time and others where I was getting running a consistent 40 FPS, so I would say that it is playable, but not consistent at all. Might want to knock down the resolution here a bit. Next up, I fired away at Grand Theft Auto 5. In 1080p with normal quality, no anti-aliasing, and softest shadows, I averaged a stupid impressive 87 frames per second. This one actually shocked me as well. I know that GTA 5 is a CPU intensive title, but it still relies on a graphics card quite a bit. I didn't expect it to be so playable on this $70 GPU, and if you're only aiming to get that 60 FPS mark, you could even turn up the graphics quite a bit. And to wrap up the graphically demanding games, I attempted Battlefield 1. Now obviously this also has a lot to do with which map you're on, how many people are playing online, etc., but I still averaged a very nice 56 FPS here online in 1080p low settings, and it was a great playing experience. I think what these last 3 games prove is that this card can actually run anything you throw at it in 1080p, you'll just have to knock down the settings a good bit. So with the benchmarks out of the way, I want to clarify something before ending this video. Although we got some really great results for such a cheap card, there are definitely better price to performance options out there if you buy used. I've mentioned before that I'm personally not a big fan of buying used parts, so if you're anything like me and when you buy something you want to have that guarantee that it works and a warranty, then the $70 GT 1030 is a pretty solid option. My reason for explaining this is because I know a ton of you are going to talk about how much better value you can get out of a used graphics card down in the comment section, and although you kind of are correct, when buying used, you don't get that guarantee that it works or a warranty, and that means more to some people than others. Well, that wraps up my review of the Nvidia GT 1030. I have a ton of future videos planned for this, such as putting it in an extreme budget build, benchmarking every esport title out there, but I want to know what you guys want to see. Make sure you let me know in the comments section. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please drop a like down below to help support my channel, and as always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more Zach's Tech Turf videos.